This is the President McCormack Podcast with your host, Mark McCormack.
Today on the podcast, the one, the only, Jonah Moreno.
Good to be here. Good to be here.
I normally do ladies and gentlemen, dude, but it didn't seem right. It seemed like get on your feet, steam coming off the stage. You know what I mean?
There should be an entrance. You should have entrance tapes, you know?
I know. We should do that, right? Because there's one podcast. It's a pretty popular one. I can't remember what it's called, but they do that, right? Like the start of it, they always like show the guys coming in because they talk to celebrities and whatever. But
well, today you got me, so here we are.
Dude, the greatest.
Still want an entrance though.
The greatest guy ever. So, dude, man, what's it like being on your first podcast?
It's good.
No, I'm just kidding. This is not your first one, is it?
No, but it's my first official nice one in a setup like this, though.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Nice.
Most of the time it's janky, on the run kind of stuff, but
is that with working with Sean? Or is
no,
that other things?
Sean actually doesn't do that many podcasts. The first one he's done in a very, very long time is Jimmy's, actually.
Oh, okay. Does he not like him or just they're kind of
it's crazy, dude. It's actually wild when I am able to tell people, but like he actually doesn't have any time.
Yeah.
Like we're all heads down working that it's like so hard to get him to sit down and to do a podcast.
Which makes sense, you know, plus, you know, I think we were talking about this too, like he needs to spend some time decompressing.
Yeah.
And I don't think not one person on your team really does that, right?
Yeah, sounds about right. Sounds about right.
I remember you telling me you're like sleeping up there all the time, and it's like, yeah, I remember those days.
Yeah, I've slept up there quite a few times up at work, just on the couch, or there's like a little house up there with my buddies that
is there?
all crash.
That's
yeah.
cool. So kind of tell people what we're talking about. So where do you work? Because it's very intriguing and fun for a lot of people, especially if they have little kids.
Yeah. So I work at the Spacestation, which is a whole bunch of stuff. It's hard to explain because of how many cool things we do. It started by Sean McBride, and he was a big guy on Snapchat, right? So on Snapchat, he was pretty much the only person to ever get famous off of Snapchat and then continue it to something else. So he basically took his audience from Snapchat, saw that Snapchat wasn't a long-term play, moved the audience to YouTube, and then created his Sean Duras Best Day Ever channel, which then his wife, Jenny, when they had a daughter, the first best day ever was actually when they had their first daughter, Adley.
Oh, okay.
So Adley's day of birth is Best Day Ever 1, and we're at over 1,700 now. And while Sean would be filming and traveling a whole bunch with Snapchat and YouTube and whatnot, Jenny decided to start a YouTube channel with Adley, and they named it A for Adley, Learning and Fun. And it was just Jenny playing with Adley and helping her learn stuff. And then Sean would be in a lot of the videos and they would kind of overlap. And we were able to take that and grow it to where we had so many brand deals. We have so many brand deals coming in for Sean that he's like, I can't do all these, but I have some friends that do YouTube that can. Do you mind if I hit them up? And the brands would say, yeah, we're just looking for someone. And so Sean became the middleman for brand deals and started Space Station Integrations, which does brand deals, influencer marketing for YouTubers and a whole bunch of other people. Then they also saw a need. It was definitely just a pleasure thing, but it was Space Station Gaming.
Yeah.
Where there was a team.
You call those gaps in the market. There's a gap in the market, right?
Yeah, exactly. Space Station Gaming is a professional esports org and actually the biggest self-funded, outside investors esports org in the world. And now Space Station Gaming is really big. We have awesome teams in Rocket League, Rainbow Six, Halo, and Super Smash, which is a personal favorite. And those were the three staples in the beginning: YouTube, integrations, and gaming. But now YouTube's cranking. We average about, it's wild. We average about 250 to 300 million views a month, which, to put it in perspective, the United States of America has 330 million people total.
Yeah.
So it takes us maybe a month and a week to get, if every single person in America watched our stuff, it's wild.
Is the audience still growing?
Yeah.
Yeah. Because every month you get more and more views, right?
Yeah. And we're starting to get onto YouTube Kids, which I don't know why we weren't there before, but we're starting to get on YouTube Kids, and that pushed us quite a bit. Yeah. But
how often do you guys release videos on each channel?
So we'll release an Adley video, A for Adley, which is the second channel. We'll release about 2 or 3 a week on that channel, and then at least once a week on Sean Durst Best Day Ever. Yeah. So the Adley channel is a lot of just playing games and having fun. And then the Sean Durst channel is just vlogging.
How long are the videos on each platform? So
the Adley channels will be about 20 to 30 minutes. And then the vlogs are probably like 40 minutes.
Because 40-minute video is long, right? For YouTube?
Yeah.
Like super long.
Yeah. Yes.
So can you tell how many people watch the full video versus just watch a clip of it?
Yeah, and it's surprisingly a good chunk.
Is it?
But also I think a lot of it is like kids will press it on their iPad and then get distracted and put the iPad down while it plays in the background. But we'll take it.
Either way, yeah.
We'll take those.
So how did you get involved in that? I know you were friends with Sean, right? Is that the path?
So no, I actually was working with a guy named Ernie Harker, who was the branding mastermind behind Maverick gas stations. So I knew him because I hung out with his daughter in high school. And then after I was done playing soccer and whatnot, I then decided to settle down. I hit him up and I was like, hey, I really love what you're doing and what you did with Maverick. Is there any way I could just learn from you?
Yeah. And
I gave him a list of things like, look, this is what I can help you with, because I did some research beforehand. I was like, this is what I can help you with because I see you don't have it. Let me do these things in exchange for just you teaching me how to brand.
Yeah.
And he and I did that together for a good long while. So at that time, I went like a year and a half without a paycheck and just soaked it all up. And then we went to a conference and we actually met Sean Holiday, who works up at the Space Station as well, who's up there. And through him, he just invited me up. He's like, hey, come to the Space Station, check it out. And I went up and Sean Durst was the only person there at the time. I walk in, I'm like, hey, I'm Jonah. And I didn't know who he was. And then we just hit it off and we just chatted a whole bunch. And by the end of just chatting, he's like, so when can you start working here? And I was like, I didn't know that this was. I didn't know this guy could make the decision to hire me.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's cool.
Nice. How long have you been there for now?
Over 2 years.
2 years?
Yeah.
What's the best part of working up there?
Every day is different. Every day is different. I love who I work with, the people. It's to give you some context. So a couple of days ago, me, Sean, a couple of other buddies, like I said, Sean and I, a couple of buddies, we were chilling and we decided to come up with an idea called Rainbow Ghosts. And
very cool.
Yeah, thank you. Rainbow Ghosts. It was just a video idea for Adley where we made these ghost costumes and each one had a different color and did something different. Like I was the purple ghost that all I wanted to do was sleep. And then if you were loud, I would get up and chase you around. Right. And then you had the green ghost that can't see you if you stop moving. The pink ghost that you can only get by him. He'll run after you unless you start dancing. Or the blue ghost that all he wants to do is eat. And so we have marshmallows, and we came up with this video idea. And then within 24 hours, we were able to make the costumes, which is why I end up sleeping over there, which it's like, let's do this tomorrow.
Yeah.
Of course, right? And so we end up making the costumes, going to the house and prepping the whole house for this video idea and then the next day, all the lights and whatnot, we ended up making where kids go through the portal and they come out into this house, and it was a whole really cool video idea, and it went really well and it was super fun. But then you go from that to the next day where we're making a movie that released on April 21st. Yeah. And so we went to Cinemark to try to figure out where to film the movie and how the red carpet event is going to be. And we went from there to a meeting about VCon, where we're going to be at VCon at Gary V's convention, and we're going to be speaking there. And every day is just different. Right. And we make apps. So we went from the VCon meeting to an apps meeting about how we're going to make kids apps that get a whole bunch of downloads and are free and no ads. So every day is different. The people are amazing, and you get a little taste of everything.
There's probably so much stuff to do, right? At that level that there's so many opportunities you guys could just grab a hold of, right? How do you guys decide which ones to do and which ones not to do?
We're still working on that. We're still working on that, because sometimes we will grab something, we'll go down the road with it, and then be like, that wasn't it. Yeah. But we try a little bit of everything, and it's been cool, because obviously there's some misses, but there's definitely some hits. Yeah. So
yeah. And then Space Station itself, I've been up there. Is it completely done with construction?
Never.
Okay.
It's like Disneyland.
Like, how many square feet do you guys have up there? Because it's way bigger than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah, I don't really know at this point.
Yeah.
Just based on the fact that we have an animation studio, and so we underestimated how many people it takes to do animation. And so with that team is about 30 plus now. And so we had to get another building. And then the back of that building, there was a big warehouse for sale. So we bought that to keep a lot of our merch stuff. And so we just added that on. So yeah, no idea.
No, it's fun. I mean, it looks like a spaceship, right? Is that I guess a space station.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be a station, it's got, they were welding crap in when I was there, second stories, and it looks like Star Wars / Star Trek, right? I mean, which one are you guys more influenced by, Star Wars or Trek?
Wars.
Yeah, I was going to say. You guys are all young. It's kind of like an older nerds, right? Yep. That are into Star Trek.
Yep.
So who designs all that stuff? Whose idea is it? Who's the brainchild?
Mostly Sean.
Yeah?
Yeah. And a lot of it is like, we'll come up with hey, we need some extra offices.
Yeah.
Or when we had the first building, and then the second building connected to it. And when we bought the second building, it's like, obviously we need an easier way than going out of the building to get to the other building. Yeah. And so we punched a hole through the wall. And then at that point, it's like, okay, we have this big hole in the wall. What do we do now?
Yeah.
And then we're like, oh, you build a portal, of course. And so we call the portal of the space station, and then we built that out to be all techie and all the lights, and it looks like you're on the spaceship. Yeah. So it kind of just builds itself.
Yeah, it kind of feels like you're on Space Mountain a little bit, right?
Yeah.
Just kind of walking around, and there's lights and spacey feel to it. No, it's fun, dude. It beats some of the other places we go to work every day.
Oh yeah. There are 100% worse things to do.
Well, and you have you have a fun outdoor thing too, right?
Yeah.
What would you call that?
Pirate Island.
Oh, Pirate Island.
Yeah.
Okay. Explain that.
Pirate Island is there's a little man-made lake up at by the space station where it's mostly for like professional water skiers, but I mean, Sean doesn't water ski, but he bought this lot on this lake that has a little beach that goes into the lake. And so he said, hey, it'd be cool if it was like a crashed pirate ship on the beach. And so he actually hired some of the Disney engineers to come out and recreate a pirate ship like it broke, like crash landed on the beach. Yeah. And so up at Pirate Island, it's a crashed pirate ship, and it has all these like the little turrets on the side splash water, and it has a little jail cell, and you can go inside of it, and this little playroom for the kids. Yeah. And from there, Sean's a big skateboarder as well, and so he had built a pump track right by Pirate Island. And then for Nico, his son's birthday, the back part of it we actually turned into like a dinosaur land. So we shipped in these like life-size dinosaurs, and we built this volcano, right? Like that's mixed within the pump track. And so you got Pirate Island and the pump track. We have a little pickleball court, and then you have the dinosaurs and the volcano in the back. Yeah.
That was way cool.
Yeah, it's fun.
So can people just go to it, or how do they access it? Is it fenced in or anything?
No, it's just Sean's, right? It's Sean's little place to go and kind of escape from everyday life. But it definitely is. We'll have parties up there, and it's not like private. Like everyone it's surrounded by a whole bunch of other people that have lots up there, right? Like right. And people go play on it all the time. And
yeah, it's just like beachfront property, right?
Yeah, basically at this point it's like if you can find it, great.
Right.
Have fun, man.
Have fun out there.
Yeah.
Nice. No, and I don't know, man. It's one of those things, right? When you get older, you start looking at your career and you're like, I don't do this all this much, but I hear about it. You know, people are like, shit, I'm stuck in this freaking cubicle or like whatever, you know, however they portray it. And you guys are like in a spaceship and you're making videos and like your creative levels like a 10 all the time. Like it just sounds, I think it makes a lot of people envious in a good way. You know, what you guys get to do every day.
Yeah, one of our mottos is best day ever, right? And so it really is trying to push out the narrative of like, no, like, I don't know if I'm going to die tomorrow. I could die on the way home from this podcast studio, you know, like, I don't know. So while I'm here, let's just have a freaking good time and get after it. And so that's why we try to fill our days up with things that we find fun, but also are businessy and get stuff done.
Do you guys have a big overall vision of what to do with it?
Kind of. We definitely, it kind of like the space station, it kind of grows as we go. We didn't think we didn't plan on having an animation studio, but then once we started thinking about like how we can grow the IP of A for Adley and how we can create the longevity of A for Adley, it snuck in. And my buddy Jordan and Sean came up with the idea of doing an animation studio. And at this point, it's like it's the future, right? So we're building it all in Unreal Engine, which is crazy. And so you can do so much with the Unreal Engine software. So we plug it in. We have a bunch of super talented people that when they start talking, it all goes over my head, but I'm impressed every time. And so it just kind of grows. And Unreal Engine and 3D animation and building out those kind of assets is going to be a whole bunch of what goes into the future of media and a whole bunch of other stuff. A ton of creators are trying to get into animation because of the longevity of it. And we had no idea that was going to happen. So we don't really have a long-term, like this is our end goal, which is good and bad, right? If we did, it'd be a lot easier to get people on board. Like, hey, this is where we're going, rather than, hey, come on board. Where are we going? No freaking clue, but it's going to be fun.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Right. It's also fun when you guys, I mean, with so much opportunity inside your business, you know, it's just not your normal, like, let's hit these sales goals. Let's do this. You know what I mean? Like, let's break the P&L down. I mean, it's like, there's a bazillion things we can do. Where do we go? Because animation makes a lot of sense. You know, I think people, if people are questioning why, the reason why is because Adley gets older every day. So eventually she's no longer a child. So if you want her to exist for, 50 more years, you've got to animate her or she'll be 65.
Yeah, definitely. And Sean Tate, so like the family, they're at this point, they're celebrities, right? And it's like, if you're just an average family and your daughter comes up to you like, hey, I want this grown man on my cake for my birthday. Yeah. And so it's kind of weird to just print out a picture of this grown man. You're like, who is this guy? But it'd be a lot easier if you had him in animation, just animated. And it's like, oh, you want an A. Bradley birthday party? Here you go. It's all animated stuff rather than just another family that's thrown onto all your birthday stuff. So
exactly. And then, you look at some of the cartoons, right? Like the Simpsons, right? Obviously they haven't aged today since they started. And, I look at that and I'm like, dude, these guys have been around forever. I was a kid when the Simpsons came out. Yeah. And so, if you do it right, you've already built the character, she just happens to be human.
Yep.
And she's also probably at one point not going to want to be A. Bradley. So, if you animate her by the time she's 15, 16, no one will even recognize her anymore. Well, in theory.
Yeah. Give her some leeway.
Yeah. And so what do you think the best direction for the company is going forward outside of animation? Because you're a giant media company, right? Was that the category you'd stick yourselves in?
Yeah. And it is hard because it's like a lot of what we do, we can't control, right? Like I can't control how many views a video gets. We can obviously create a really good storyline, really good thumbnail, really good, do all the best YouTube practices, which there are, and which is a big reason why people fail at YouTube is just they don't know how to do it. But it's hard because I guess, for example, we had a video go up not too long ago and where the graphs, like the recommended graphs went like this, just straight up. And then after about 2 hours, straight back down. So when we posted the video, YouTube's like, yo, this is great. Thank you for posting this. I'm going to show it to everybody. And then after about 2 hours, it's like, I'm not going to show it to a single person again, ever. And so the graph, like the recommended just went straight up and then straight back down. Yeah. And so we can't control that. It was a banger video, but we can't control that, And so the future, I think, will be a lot of growing out. I guess the future is still growing out our IPs. There are people bigger than us still, and like there's a whole bunch of little places within A. Bradley and I guess the space station in general where we can fine tune. And then when we fine tune those and really get it cranking, it'll either be helping other people with their YouTube stuff, helping building out apps. So our apps are a really cool thing. And the way it's all connected through Space Station is fun, right? Where for our movie, we have an app called Adley's Play Space. And so what we're doing is we're making a movie world within Play Space. And when we launch, say a bug kit, we're going to be launching a bug kit here soon for little kids just to play around with bugs. And it's Nico and Adley's bug catching kit. And when that drops, we have an app called Unicorn Catch where you run around catching unicorns. And instead of unicorns, we're changing it to bug catch just for the season. And so we have the bug catch. We have then a video going out, which I actually checked yesterday. The average video that we put out over the span of like 2 years gets about 9 to 10 million views. And so that means we have 9 to 10 million people that we know are going to see this video promoting these bug kits.
Right.
And so we don't have to pay to do a lot of marketing because we have the apps and the videos and it all circulates throughout the space station. And so building out these interwoven pieces of storytelling to different companies is, I think, a huge play. And that's actually what my favorite part of it all is too, is the creative storytelling for each company. And how do you reach as many people as possible in a creative, fun way to where even ADP Lemco, shout out, can where people just can't leave the spin cycle of ADP Lemco. Wherever they go, it's all ADP Lemco, and that's all they think about.
Right.
So.
Yeah, it's always kind of in their face. Yeah. Well, that's cool, dude. When you guys are at your level, do you have a special interaction with YouTube? Do you get any special treatment over there? Or are they?
Yeah, we have a YouTube rep.
Yeah.
Yeah, and she
like an advocate for you guys, basically.
Mm-hmm. So she reps the top like 10 biggest family and kids channels. So all the big, like Ryan's Toy Reviews and all the Nastias, all the huge names, she's in charge of all those.
Yeah.
And so we're just lucky to be enough on that list.
What's it like working with her? She's cool?
Yeah, she's great. Yeah, her name's Haley. She's great. Haley lets us know, like when that video went up and just went immediately back down, we have the privilege to call Haley and be like, hey, is it something we did? Is it something the algorithm did? Like, can you check this?
Yeah.
And a lot of people will say that doesn't exist for YouTube. It's like, oh, you like only YouTube knows the YouTube algorithm. No human knows it. But I mean, it's a computer. You can kind of tell what to do. So as much as people hate it, it's one of those like you hit Mr. Beast. If Mr. Beast video isn't popping off, he has some people who can go.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And he, would you say he's at a different level than you guys? Or are you guys getting close to turning the corner on him? I know isn't he the biggest YouTube star?
Yeah.
Yeah. Or is that even a thing? Is it even a thing to want to be as big as him, or does everyone just do their content and see what happens?
It's definitely it's an interesting question because it's hard, because in terms of longevity, it's hard to compare like Mr. Beast Burger to animation, right? Like, what does that mean? And especially these days, you see a lot more influencers going into things outside of media. Dobrik's Pizza, Mr. Beast Burger, Rockin' Tequila, right? And it's like, views wise, I think he'll always be crushing everyone. But, and I think just like personality wise, as like he's YouTube's baby, but longevity, I feel like we have everything, whereas he's kind of stuck. And where does he go from? This last video was he cured blindness. Like, where do you? God is the only step up from this, right? Like, where do you go? You got to burn out sometime, and I hope he doesn't for his sake. You know, I'm not wishing him the worst. It's just it's hard to beat what he's already done.
Right. What do you think the magic was for his channel? Like, why did he become popular?
He was relentless, man. I think one time he counted to 1 million. I think that was his first video to pop off, is he counted to 1 million, which...
How long does that take?
I don't know. Long time. It sped up, right? Like, he counted to 1 million, and what made him famous is that he started spending... He was really the first person to get all the money from YouTube and then immediately just spend it on the next video, rather than be like, I have to save this money for myself. He spent it all in the next video, and then he made more money off of that. And then it just kept going like that until where he could spend half on the next video and then a fourth on the next video and still have it be a crazy video. Yeah. But
there's a lot of wild, to be honest, I've never watched one of his videos. I know who he is, and I've seen him. He's on the Rogan podcast, and I've seen little clips and stuff, right? But isn't it all kind of like almost Japanese style, ridiculous activities, like keep your hand on a car, first one to take their hand off, and I think there was a pallet of money at one point, right? That he did that same thing with.
Yeah, he's famous for giving away a ton of money.
Is he?
Which is another hard thing, right? Because if you see Zac Efron walking down the street, when I see Zac Efron, the first thing I think of is, holy crap, that's Zac Efron. That's Troy Bolton.
Yeah.
The first thing you think of when you see Jimmy is is he going to give me $1 million? Right. And so what happens then is you change your mindset on what people are. And it's hard because if every single person in the whole world knows who you are and you're famous for giving away money, you're going to start seeing people differently. You're going to start seeing them as just money, like people that just only talk to you because you want money. Like celebrities have a hard time dating for that reason, let alone being famous for that reason. So it's hard because he has so much money and because he's famous for that. It's just.
Is he a bit of a recluse or is he out in society?
Yeah, he's a quiet guy.
Isn't that funny?
Well, yeah,
it isn't. I guess, if you're a guy who's, social and, sometimes you do just turn it off. You just tell him to be quiet and, you can't always be on. And I mean, how long are his videos generally? Like the edited ones that he puts out there?
Depends. He has a lot of channels now, so it depends on the channel. He has a philanthropy channel where they're a little bit longer because you have to build up a storyline of how you're going to put a well in Africa.
Oh.
And then you have his main channels where they're not crazy long, but so much happens that you feel like they're long.
Right.
Because it's really quick. Like, I'm going to run over this with a train. Run over the train, and then it cuts to the next one. And it's like, I'm going to build the biggest hamburger in the world. And then within 3 minutes, he's built the biggest hamburger in the world. And then it goes by pretty quick. But
well, that makes sense. It's what's the strategy behind having multiple channels?
More opportunities to promote your other channels.
So just cross promotion and that you're controlling, basically. Okay.
Yeah, more opportunities for people to get to see it. Where, as if you stick with one channel, I'm not saying everyone should have a bunch of channels.
Right.
But if you're really big, starting another channel, obviously you know what you're doing. And so you can just use that again, use the same formula while pushing a different side of it. If you don't want to talk about a specific subject on one, you can on another channel because you can keep them separate.
Yeah, that makes sense. I tell you, one of the things I felt like I missed in life is doing reviews on YouTube. Like 10 years ago, right? Because then like those guys, man, they just got like so many things sent to them and just like, it'd be the awesomest thing ever, right? You get a brand new iPhone, the brand new drone, the brand new e-bike. I mean, just, get your guys together, film a thing, tell them how awesome it is and, move on to the next. And it's, because what was the main guy that was doing that? Was his name Casey?
Casey Neistat?
Neistat, yeah. Didn't he kind of start off doing that?
He was the original vlogger on YouTube. Like he was one of the OGs on YouTube.
And one of his things too was he did like 4K. So it was like truly like, oh dude, his videos feel different.
Yeah. And well, back in the day in YouTube, if you put 4K in the video, in the title, it would boost up the algorithm. So you'd get shared more.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Obviously it doesn't now, but.
Yeah. You almost have to, right? Be in 4K.
Yeah. Well, that actually brings up something that I really like is that on YouTube, you have so much freedom to where it's like the better the story is, the worse quality of audio and video that you can get away with. Right. And so you don't have to. Like, we don't shoot in 4K.
Oh, you don't?
Our Adley videos and Sean Durst videos, we don't shoot in 4K. But
why is that?
We just like this camera that we have. We just haven't changed the camera.
Okay, I got you.
Yeah. And where we're able to just have a camera on the little tripod, little guy, and where we can move it around, it's small enough. And so if you have a good storyline, and if you have a big enough audience where you can captivate them without just using visuals, then
right.
You don't need 4K, but obviously it helps.
So do you plan out your videos? Like very detailed?
No. That Rainbow Ghost one was the first one where, like, not the first one, but the first one in a while where we really dove deep into it.
Yeah. So why is that? Is it just feel more organic if you just film?
Yeah, because a lot of people forget that Adley's 6, right?
Yeah.
It's like, and she's really good at acting, but she's not an actress to where it's like, these are your lines. And Nico's young, and it's just like, and Navy's even younger. And Navy just turned 2, and it's like, with them being so young and just being kids, you don't tell them lines, and it's just, they're just funny. Kids are just funny as they come. Kids come funny.
They do.
So it's like, just, if you take away the authenticity of giving them lines and structuring everything out, then you don't give them the kids the creative freedom to do whatever they want.
Yeah, just say whatever.
Yeah.
So how long did those take to edit? An A for Adley video?
Well, not crazy long, but our editors are wild. They're really good. Nick and Colby are just animals. Yeah.
And they just make it look good, right? I mean, from splashes and whatever.
Yeah, the little pop-ups and little sound effects and little.
Yeah. So do they talk to YouTube a lot and get feedback from, Haley saying, these are things you guys should add to your videos down the road, this is something that YouTube cares about, or
no,
like that?
Sometimes they'll be like, hey, we're really focusing on animals this next month.
Oh, that's it from YouTube?
And we'll say, great. We'll try to make a video about animals.
Do you feel like YouTube sometimes doesn't really know quite what they're doing? Or do you think they're very clear in there?
No, it's just a big company.
Yeah.
It's Google, right? Google owns YouTube. So it's like, communication's hard with 5 people, let alone how many people they have.
Yeah, 100,000 probably.
Yeah.
Or more. Yeah. It's interesting though, too, is I don't know if I'm right in this or wrong in this, but I'll be close. But I think YouTube is the #1 consumed media channel, right? And it's not even close.
Not even close.
Yeah. I can't see that changing.
No. I see it getting worse.
Yeah.
Or better, however you want to look at it.
I have YouTube TV, right? So I actually use both of them. But I just don't watch that much TV, man. TV sucks.
Well, yeah. No, I agree.
I got so many pharmaceutical companies talking about pills I don't take. You know what I mean? And then it's, if you're watching a kid's show, it's all about cereal and whatever, right?
Yeah.
And I don't know, man. I just don't watch that much TV, like almost hardly any, but like I consume YouTube 6 hours a day. I just have it on in the background at my office all the time. And, I upload videos now and trying to figure whatever out. And so I'm just always on there. And I like little clips. I'm actually a guy that likes long form YouTube videos though. So I love the documentary stuff or like long speeches cause I just have it playing when I'm working. I just listen to it. And a lot of times I zone out. I'm not even listening to it. I'm just doing whatever I'm doing. Then they'll say something. I'm like, oh, I need to listen to that. So I'll just click that back to that screen, move it back 20 minutes and re-listen to it. But yeah, I love YouTube, man. I think it's the way of the future for sure. And I think animation would be very interesting to really exploit. Because there's a lot of good things. I mean, there's a lot of companies that could use animation to explain what they do, right? If you made... I don't know, let's just say for our NBA floors, if you guys animated up a 5-minute long video which is actually a pretty long video for animation, you could use that forever, ever and ever and ever if it's done well.
It's timeless.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's crazy because we made all of our stuff in Unreal Engine, apps like Roblox and Minecraft and these other, in the Unreal Engine really, and these gaming engines, we can actually just take the assets that we made and then just port them over to Roblox and port them over to these other servers and engines. Yeah.
So if you had Adley, you could actually make her a character in like a video game. Oh.
Which we'll probably end up doing, right? Where it's like...
Yeah, you get her on like NBA Jam or something. I mean, seriously,
I want to
right?
see, yes.
It's freaking crazy.
I will have Adley dunking over LeBron. I will.
Virtually.
Yeah, mark my words. Or real life.
Or even
I'll take either.
Dude, I mean, it's insanely off brand for you, but you know what I'm saying? It's like you could do one like Call of Duty.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Just a little avatar spinning around, dress her up in some ghillie suit,
Yep.
But I mean, and you might be 10 years away from that, right? But you might be some kids that are like, I used to watch this as a kid and now it's kind of fun for me to like throw her in this video game.
Well, we're actually not. It's crazy how far we've come in just a little bit. Like, I would say if we just put our apps team on it and just went heads down building out a Call of Duty with A for Adley, we could get it done in 7 months.
Oh, wow.
And
I guess more on brand though, right? Would just be the sticker and like, what's that game that all the kids play? It's like Call of Duty, but it's more character. Fortnite. Yeah. There you go.
So
I mean, Fortnite, she fits perfect in, right?
Unreal Engine made Fortnite.
Right.
It's made by Epic Games, which is Unreal. And so we have an asset right now to where if they wanted to, they could put Adley into Fortnite seamlessly and have a run around. And
you guys ever tried to do something like that?
So we're making a little server in Roblox and in these other little games, which is a whole nother conversation because that's the future of Sandbox, is making these kinds of games. There's a game on Roblox right now called Frontline, and it looks as good as a Call of Duty game, but it's made in Roblox and it's free. And you can play it. I can play it on my phone while you're on your computer, while your kid's on an Xbox, while your other kid's on an iPad. We can all play together.
Yeah.
And it's just bonkers what these people have been able to make. And it was made by 5 guys, just 5 dudes. Whereas the AAA games have millions of dollars in budget and hundreds of people, 5 dudes.
Yeah. It's almost like when Elon took over Twitter, right? And he fired like 7,500 people and replaced them with 50 engineers.
Yeah, he's like, yeah, what the hell are you guys doing here? Like, get out of here.
Yeah, we're putting guys in here that actually work. Yeah. Yeah, and are super nerds, right? I always call them schnurds, right? That's my favorite thing. I call
Schnurds.
Almost anyone that's a CPA for me or something like that, I call them a schnurd. Just it's like some stupid term we had in high school.
Got him.
So I should be coming around another 5 to 10 years, being cool in the 90s. We got to repeat all that crap. I think we're in the 80s right now, right? Yep. You see the little 80s influence with everybody?
Yeah, we're just going back.
Freaking cycle, bro. Some of these pants people wear. We have a mutual friend, and she had these pants on the other day, and I was just like, whoa. I'm like, that is so freaking 80s. It's insane.
Threw you back?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was a young kid in the 80s. I was born in 81. But, 88, 89, I was freaking 6, 7, 7, 8, checking things out.
You were there.
Yeah. I mean, I like 80s music. I'm like that. I'm like that age, right, where like you like 80s music and you love 90s music, right? And so, I mean, a couple dudes older, like if you're 44 now, 45, like you love 80s. It's like greatest music ever. And so, your generation, what would you consider the best range of music?
Ooh, I grew up with like Akon and T-Pain. That was me growing up. Me growing up as a freaking 6-year-old listening to Akon, Smack That by Akon as a 6-year-old. Never did a million years did I think it was talking about a woman's butt.
A booty.
Yes. But
the booty.
Yeah, I was singing Smack That every day. My parents just like, I hope.
Was Usher a big?
Up. Oh yeah.
Big then? So when would you say, so you're talking like, what year were you born?
Early 2000s.
I always remember. It's early 2000, right? What year were you born?
So I was 97.
97, okay. Yeah, so you would have been, 2004 or 5, right, is when you started coming of age.
Yep.
Was nu metal still a thing? Did you like Linkin Park?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Blink-182.
Yeah, Blink-182 would have been huge. Emo music, right? Like Dashboard. And
Hate My Stepdad kind of stuff.
Yeah. My girlfand's a real bee. I can't tell her face. I gotta sing about it. You left me for Jimmy. Yeah. Yeah. I love all that kind of music, man. So one thing that I particularly like about you a lot is Hannah. You're I
don't blame you. I don't blame you at all.
But I love the story between you guys because it's you've been together since you were 14, or is it younger than that?
So I've known Hannah since I was 13.
Yeah.
And we went to middle school together. She just moved from England back to Utah, and then I just moved from a different school, and so we were the 2 new kids.
Yeah.
We quickly became just best friends, and we were really good friends middle school and high school, and I was always into her. And I tried to kiss her like 4 times on like different New Year's Eve parties, and she wasn't about it. But end of high school, we ended up dating for a little bit. We both served missions, LDS missions, and I went to Spain, and that's where her family's from. So I actually met a lot of her extended family on my mission. Yeah. And then she went to Panama, and I came back. I came back a couple months before she did. We both ended up dating other people for a little bit, and then after like 5 months, we started dating again, and then.
So how'd you start dating again post mission?
We just kept hanging out. Yeah. And it was like after dates, we'd go hang out, and then it was just it was one of those like we knew we couldn't get back into it because once we did, it was game over. Yeah, and so. Married. We fought it for as long as we could, and then it was just like, this is ridiculous. What are we doing here? And then we ended up dating again and getting married.
How long did that take?
We dated for about a year and then married about that. Yeah.
Nice. So you've been married 4 years?
Mm-hmm.
About 4 years? Yeah.
Yep.
Dang.
Yep.
How many of your friends are married? Your high school friends?
All of them.
All of them?
Yeah, a good chunk of them. Yeah. I guess there's a couple that aren't, but
you're let me see. You're probably 4 or 5 years away from the divorces starting to happen. It's a weird time, bro.
Low, dude. It's getting lower and lower.
Well, if you had more experience in it, dude,
awesome.
You'd be seeing the signs left and right, right? You're like, oh yeah, they always did fight, or like she was always mean as hell to him.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then like all of a sudden out of nowhere, if your first friend be like, yeah, we're getting divorced, she's a real whatever, and you're like, oh, yeah, you guys should have never gotten married in the first place,
Yeah, I definitely have some buddies that are divorced.
Already. Oh, do you already?
Yeah.
Oh crap! How long do they last?
2 years.
Yeah. It's a weird thing, right?
Yeah.
It's. I was talking to one of our mutual friends last night. Who's a doctor, Dr. Howland.
Love that guy.
And he teases me. I mean, Nick and I, right? Like we tease each other, but freaking like best friends. And we were talking about like the tips and tricks to being married, and how to make it last a long time. Because I've been married 19 years this June, and I'll never get divorced, so it just won't ever happen for me. And we were just talking about it, and we diluted it down to like, there's just no other option for Michelle and I, right? There is no divorce option. So when life hits us or happens to us, we're just like, we just deal with it. You get through it, and I don't know, there's just no other option but to stay together, which I think our society now tells people a lot, right? Like, if you're unhappy, then bounce. I read the statistic the other day that 90% of divorces now in the United States are filed by women. And it's like, that's shocking, And I look at you guys, and I can kind of see you guys like we were when we were young, right? You're just kind of like, it's just us, like there's no other option. It's always going to be this way. And it's probably the secret to staying happy.
Yeah. I don't claim to know any secret to staying happy, but it's,
why not? You're a happy guy.
Yeah. Cause I know what works for me.
Yeah.
And always go. I guess my dad always taught us growing up, like, there's no such thing as unsolicited advice.
Yeah.
And I guess it just stems from that, where it's like, you can tell there's all the information in the world out there. If I could learn about whatever I want to right now, but I don't, because I don't want to. So if somebody came up to me and said, this is how you plant grass, I don't care. I don't need to plant grass right now. So it's not relevant to me.
Yeah.
So I know what works for me and Hannah, right? Yeah. But like, Hannah's just, she's just always so happy, dude. Hannah is the epitome of she looks for the good, right? Hannah looks for the good in every little thing. She's always trying to better herself in the ways that, like, she wakes up, writes in a gratitude journal every morning, spends some time with our dog, our little, not little, she's a big English Mastiff, but pets our dog for a little while hangs out in this little area that we have with a bunch of flowers, and she just hangs out with the flowers and the dog for a little bit, and she makes herself happy. And she's a great example to where she's just very present, and being with someone like that just grounds you. Cause I struggle with that, right? I struggle with being present. I struggle with sitting in one spot and just doing one thing, and my mind's going a million miles an hour and it could come back to the fact that like society tells people that you got to do A, B, C, and D all the way down to Z twice just to be successful. And I don't know what the dick being successful even means, right? Like,
dude, I'm working on that right now. I'm going to define what being successful is. I have to do it in a pie chart because that's how my mind works, right?
Pie charts.
Yeah, I will, just with this, because I like want to explain to people, like as men, right, in the culture that we grew up in, success equals finance, right? How much money you have, right? To the point where it's like, oh, that guy's got, $1,000 more than me. He's more successful than me. It's like a weird cultural, it's just beat into us, right? And I'm not even saying it's wrong. Just the percentage is wrong, right? Like how much of that pie chart, because you need to make some money to feel successful, right? Like you need to know that the efforts that you put in yield you fruits. And then you also, part of being happy and feeling successful is that you've planned for B and C and D, right? Like you plan for the future, you've set your systems up and your processes and your the way you show up in this world. Like it's important, right? But more important than finances is your relationship with your spouse, number one, right? Then after that, it's, if you have kids, they're number two. And then you have like your friends that you choose to treat as family, right? And those relationships are the most important thing in your world. So they're definitely more than finances, right? So now we're down to 51-50, right? And then it's like, well, what about your health? You can't be successful if you're not healthy. You just can't. And so you start breaking that pie chart down. And so I want to basically find everything. It'll be for me, obviously. It'll be a very,
I'd love to see
individual thing. I'll share it with everybody because I want people to look at it and go, well, let me go figure this out for me, right? Like, let me do my own pie chart. It's kind of like Dave Allred, right? When he came up and spoke to us, he has his investing pie chart. 1%'s in crypto, 3%'s in private equity, 25%'s in, small businesses and real estate, whatever, right? His entire investing strategy. That's really where I was thinking about, because I've done that already in my life, right? And I'm like, oh, I should apply that to like what being successful actually means. Are you learned? Are you educated? Can you give advice to people? Like there's things that make you successful. And I just don't think people are brave enough to define it. Yeah. At least for themselves. But
yeah, I think people get caught up in the spin cycle that is our daily life, right? This realization I had not too long ago, Ryan Bingham actually helped me slow my life down a little bit. And I went and did yoga with Ryan, and then he gave me a book that I read, and then I've just been trying to slow my life down. And with that, I was like, I'm going to dance with Hannah. There's nothing else. We don't talk. It's just dancing. And we started dancing, and the realization came to me that I'm like, look, so there's no dancing for the sake of dancing is just like life, right? And I don't dance to end the dance, to get to the end of the dance. I dance with Hannah because I love Hannah and I love the moment while we're dancing. And it's super like this idea. I would drawn this out a whole bunch, but this idea, because the best dancers aren't the fastest dancers. It's not to get to the destination. When I dance, I don't think I have to end up in this spot of the room. I dance with Hannah to dance with Hannah. And so people push this narrative where it's like the destination is the goal, where the happiest of times, I didn't have a destination. The sitting and relaxing with my family just at a barbecue, hanging out at the WAD events just with the brothers. There's no destination there. It's just do it. Right. You're just there. And so, like I said, there's the fastest dancers aren't the best dancers. It's the ones that feel the moment and dance. Same with music. Because if it was that way, then people would come to the orchestra just for the last note and be like, that was amazing. That was the best music I've ever heard, but it's not like that. And playing music, I guess it's probably a better analogy if it's playing music, because you play music. You don't work music. You don't work the bongos. You play the bongos. You play life, right? Yeah. And so it is, success is it's a hard term, because I struggle with that personally, where it's like, at what point am I? Maybe it's because I haven't defined it, but that's why I have a hard time giving people advice, because I'm like, I don't know what the F you should do, dude. Like, I barely know what's worked for me, right? Like I said, I know what's worked for me and I know what hasn't worked for me. Will it work for you? Probably not. I don't know. So I have a hard time giving advice, and it probably could be because I don't have it defined.
Yeah. Maybe, who knows? You're also kind of young, right? So you don't want to, I don't know if you're trepidatious on not giving bad advice or.
Yeah, I'm not about to sit here and give you advice on a whole bunch of stuff.
You should. The funny thing with advice is, especially from someone who likes to give it so freely, but like, I have zero expectation. Well, I have very low expectation with people when I give them advice, right? If they ask me a question, I tell them what's up. I'd be very honest, exactly what I would want to be told if I was them, right? And then they go do what they want with it, you know? There's some people that give advice and they get real butthurt, right? When people don't actually take their advice. And it's like, dude, people can only take your advice at maybe 5% of what you say. Yeah. You know, and it actually has to do with what you were saying. It's because they have to apply it to their life. You know, there's a lot of things in my life that I do really good for me that would not be good for other people. It just doesn't fit them, right? And so when I try and give advice to people, I try and give it in the principle of why I do something, not the exact thing that I do. Case in point, you know, people like their morning routine, right? They're like, oh yeah, well, what do you do? What do you do? What do you do? It makes no difference what anybody does. Using the principle of having a morning routine aligns you with your goals better. That's it, right? So what you actually do during that, it's up to you. Do whatever you want. Like you guys, right? If you dance. Michelle and I do a thing where we take a minute where we basically go, when I first get home from work, we go jump on my bed or our bed, and we just hold each other, like we cuddle up as tight as we possibly can, face to face, and we just talk about the day for 5 minutes, right? So it's non-sexual, super intimate. You know, I normally put her hair behind her ears the whole time, stuff like that, right? So it's just gentle and soft, and you know, the masculine, feminine energy really like kind of falls in love with each other a little bit, you know? Yeah. And she feels seen, I feel seen and heard, and then I go bust my kids up for as many hours as I can before we go to bed, right? You know, and essentially do the same thing with them, right? Just try and be as present with them and love them and talk to them. And it was wild, dude. I was supposed to put the kids to bed on Friday night at like 8. I went upstairs and I was sitting there talking to them, and I just sat down, and dude, they interrupt each other like crazy, and like they do all these things that like I hear and I notice in real life. But I literally was like almost meditating, just taking a moment in there, and I just started talking to each one of them, right? Just being as present as I possibly could. I didn't even have my phone on me because it was on the charger. I was just sitting up there, and they're just showing off to me, bro, for 3 hours. Just, Dad, check this out. Dad, look at this. Oh, I drew this. And my daughter's all about, you'll meet her in a minute. I think you've met Brea, haven't you? Mm-hmm. Yeah, so Brea's my next guest today, but she's just like, Dad, I want to build a YouTube channel. You never help me. You know? And I'm like, I don't know a damn thing about it. She's like, well, you have one. And I'm like, that doesn't count. I'm just uploading podcast videos. Like her dream, man, is to just have a YouTube channel. And the best part about it is she doesn't give a shit if it makes money. She doesn't even expect it to. She just thinks the coolest thing ever would be have her own YouTube channel. And so I like had her tell me her business plan. You know, and her brother and sister interrupt the hell out of her, right? But like, it's like this little symphony that they do because it doesn't bother them at all. It's just like how they communicate. And all 3 of my kids are wild, dude. They're homeschooled. They're always together. They're like best friends. They fight a little bit. They're kids, you know? But like, I look at them and I'm like, dude, this is like one of those moments. And I got overwhelmed in the middle of it. Like I almost never get overwhelmed, right? And I was like, oh, I need to leave. I got to put these kids to bed. Like, this is too much, you know? And then I was like, dude, this is like the best night ever. Like, you will never forget this ever. And the next day I was thinking, about 11, my one daughter fell asleep. She was just like, oh, hey, Dad, I love you. And just like literally laid her head down, gone, right? My son's like, how long are you going to be in here for? I'm tired. I'm like, oh, okay. But I'm like, just close your eyes. So he kind of like closes his eyes. He's just kind of, he won't go to bed though, because I'm in the room, right? He just loves that Dad's there. So I just stood up and went and gave Bray a kiss. She's in a bunk bed and everyone just kind of closed their eyes. And like, dude, I don't even think they were awake by the time I turned the light off. I mean, it was just like gone.
Yeah.
Right? And the next day I was sitting there thinking, and I'm like, we have all these people telling us to be present, right? But they don't really tell you why. It's just like, be present, be as present as you can. Don't think about the future. Don't think about the past, and get distractions out of your life. And, there's TED Talk this and Brene Brown that. And you know what I'm saying? It's just like present.
Yeah.
And in that moment up there, what I realized, and I love that it's non-scientific. I'm not a doctor. I've got no research behind this, but I'm 100% right. When you are 100% present, you will remember the moment down the road much better. You'll remember all the details. If I'm up there fiddling with my phone, playing a game, getting on Instagram while they're getting ready, while they're brushing their teeth, I'm not present. That moment becomes nothing for me because I don't really care about Instagram. I don't really care about messing on my phone. But like, as I'm saying this, I can remember the smiles on their face, the way they look at me, the little symphony of them talking to each other, and like just how everything is. And my little daughter, right? She's like, hey, Dad, look at me. You know what I mean? Like if Nixon says something, she then has to like say something kind of similar. And if Bray has something, then she's got to say something similar. And like I'm just sitting there watching it, right? And now that I'm reflecting on it, I'm like, that was so vivid, and it was matching how present I was. And I think if you start building that habit, you're just very present in everything you do, your life seems more fulfilled because you remember more of it. And it's like in your head, and then you're overwhelmed by the emotion of it. And then as you're thinking about it later, you're like, oh, that was amazing. And I can recreate that now. And not only that, you've fostered really good relationships because you're present. And then those keep on getting better and better. And it's just like, dude, like it's like an actual epiphany for me, which is rare, right? Where it's like, yeah, dude, being present is literally everything.
That's awesome. I love that. Yeah. That's a whole other thing that I'd love to talk to you about too, because it's like, it's the same thing with focus. People always told me growing up, because like you can't, like he has a hard time focus, like Jonah, sit down and focus. I was always going. Yeah. And it's like, sit down and focus. Like, and it's the same thing with being present. And then when I got older, I was like, the hell does that even mean? How do I focus? Nobody taught me how to focus.
Yeah.
The being present is the same way, where it's like everyone is telling everyone to be present. That's like just a buzzword people are using these days. Mm-hmm. And nobody's teaching them how. Right. And the one way, it's like, if you do ask somebody, how do you be present? The first thing is get off your phone. I'm like, okay, that's step one. Give me step two through whatever. I don't even know how many steps there are because nobody tells me. And right. So it's cool to hear you say that, because you definitely are one of the most present people, as buzzword as it gets. And that's actually a question I'd like to ask you is, how do you, because I see you interact with so many people. You have so many friends. You're actually one of the people that I know that has probably the most friends. And you always have, you have an ability to show each one of them genuine love and kindness, and you care about each one of these people. And you then have extra love for your wife and your kids and your family. And like, how do you have time, and how do you, with how busy you are, because you are a busy guy, and why do you how and why do you make time for every single person that's in your life?
Yeah. That's a good question. That's like the first thing that pops in my head, where I'm like, okay, you got to be weird, because sometimes I feel like I'm weird.
Yeah.
And I say that not tongue in cheek, but it's like, you have to make that stuff a priority if you want it to be, or don't, right? Like, I've shed friends.
Yeah.
Friends have shedded me. You know, like it just, sometimes you have friends for a season, right? And then they go. I think to answer your question though, with like some specifics is I really do try and YOLO every day, which, I mean, you've heard me say it a million times, right? Like I joke about it all the time, but like, it's true, right? Like today I just want to enjoy. I've taken all the responsibilities in my life and I have put them into systems, right? And some of those systems require trust. So like, I never worry about my kids' education. I just don't, because Michelle takes care of it. So the system we've put together, she's currently homeschooling, right? Mm-hmm. And so I know for a fact, I trust her to put the curriculum together. I trust her to everything. Like I don't question it. I'm not even reported to. I'm almost not even a part of it, right? Other than when she asked me if she wanted to do it, I was like, oh, absolutely. If you want to do it, knock yourself out, right? And same with our house, like the house being clean, you know? And then when you go to the businesses that I'm involved in, like inside those, I have people I trust that do the things the way that I want them done, or I'm happy with the way that they like them done. And when you take all your responsibilities and put them into systems, you don't really have to worry about it. And if something breaks, you go fix the system, not the person, right? So then you're not really upset with people very often, right? Even my wife, if there's, I mean, we've been married so long, there's like, the stuff we fight about is like ridiculous, right?
Yeah.
Like how spicy the Asian food was, you know what I mean? You know what I like.
Yeah, yep.
Like what, you know? It's like the stupid funny crap, right? And, or like the way we say something, like, I don't like the way you said that. Yep. It's like, yeah, we haven't been in a fight in 2 months. Let's do it, you know? But there's no need to be angry with people or even upset or even disappointed, really. Just go, okay, I built this system here and it's not working. So let's fix it, you know, put it on a check, like at work, right? If I've got a project manager that's just blowing money left and right, you know, I've got to go in there and be like, okay, I need to take the ability away from him to do this or to be able to do this, the decision-making capabilities, right? So you'll add like another layer where it's like, hey, before you send a quote out, you have to have that double checked by this person or me, right? And then during that process, it kind of reteaches them like, oh, I see. You had more money here, or this here, we don't offer this, we're going to exclude this or whatever, right? So whatever the customer's getting is exactly what they're expecting and we get paid for it. It's not really a people thing. So if someone's like continuing breaking that system, you just cut them loose, right? Because they're not doing the system you said. But if the system's broken, all you got to do is tweak it a little bit and you're off to the races. That allows me to be like really present with people in the like podcasting, right? Like I'm not worried about people calling me or emailing me or texting me, right? I don't have some weird fire out there. You know, there's nothing bananas that's going on, or I'm not anticipating any of that stuff. I'm just like, cool, I've got this blocked out. While I'm here, I'm going to be here. And that's a lot to do with it. Just I've processed all my responsibilities into different categories, and I'm always changing them. And I learned that in college. I got married at 22, but I closed on a house a day before I got married, right? And because I was working, I was going to school full time. I knew that like I didn't want to do homework on the weekends, right? So then when I went to college, I would put an hour and a half breaks between all my classes. And then I'd only go to school either Tuesday and Thursday or all night classes or whatever that made working possible, right? But when I went to school, it was like, okay, I'm in school. I'm here. I'm not going to do homework at home. So I'd go to a class, do the homework, go to a class, do the homework, finish a class, go to work, right? And it was just this system that I built, and I just never broke that. And literally I either got an A, well, I got all A's basically in college, right? But if I didn't get an A, I would have got an F because the system would have been broken. I wouldn't have been able to learn, and then like it just wouldn't have worked, right? And I also was like, yeah, man. And when work is done at 5:00 on Friday back then, like I am not doing work on the weekends. I don't talk to Michelle about work. We don't, because work's generally negative, right? I'm just fixing problems all the time. So when I tell her about my day, it's just like, this guy did this, this guy did that, you know, this guy's still doing this. And so on the weekends, I was super present with her, right? We always go to like a matinee on Saturday for like $2 back in the day. That was kind of like our thing when we were like freaking poor. And, so the weekends is just like, and it conditioned my wife too, to be like, okay, when he's working, he's working. When he's playing, he's playing. When he's with the kids, he's with the kids. And I just, you know, I probably even went back to my mission, honestly, right? It's where you would be like, hey, you know, we're going to go street proselyting for these many hours. And these many hours, we're going to go do knocking doors, then we have a dinner with the family, then we have this lesson we're going to teach, then we got to be back by this time, and we got, companionship study in the morning, then Book of Mormon study, like your whole day is just so structured. And I kind of pushed that into college, and by the time I hit my career, it was like I was married, we had a kid on the way, like everything was great. Like all the systems were checking out, and then it just allowed me to go and do the things that I needed to do all the time. And because my wife is so supportive of me, like actually supportive, right? Like she knows the system. She knows when to talk to me. She knows when she needs something from me. She asks for it in a certain way that gets her the result that she wants, right? Like she can't call me up at 3:00 in the afternoon and be like, hey, just wanted to chat with you, see what's up. Like we don't do that, right? Because I'm at work. Like we chat when I get home and we make it intimate and we do it the best way that we know how to do it. And that allows me to be friends with a lot of people. And I also never hesitate, right? Like if I'm in a meeting and I'm like, I wonder what Jonah's up to. Like I will text you and just be like, hey, what you up to? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
A lot of the time, if I text you, if you tried to call me right away during the work days, like I wouldn't answer because I'm actually in a meeting or like on a Zoom call or something, right? Yeah. But like, I just think I learned a long time ago to just not hesitate, not wait. It's like, okay, later tonight, I'm going to call Jonah or I'm going to call Ryan, right? I'm going to connect with them at some point. I'm just like, nope. Like sometimes I'll get on a plane and I'm so sick of watching like the movies, and especially if I've traveled a lot because I've seen them all, right? So I just buy the Wi-Fi and I just start texting people. Hey man, what's going down? What you up to? This is cool, man. I saw you on Instagram. This is dope. I love that you're doing that. It's unfiltered. I spell words wrong all the time. I don't give a shit. I'm just like, it is what it is. And then, I've also had so many conversations with people that I'm like way past like Schedule 1 conversations, right? Like, where's your family from? Where are you at? Blah, blah, blah. Yeah. That's why like sometimes like Nick Hallen's a good example, right? I became friends with him so quickly that after a while I was like, hey, what's your sister's name? He's like, how do you not know my sister? And I'm like, we've never talked about her. And he's like, yeah, I guess you're right. We never do talk about stuff. I'm like, no, we kind of got to the good parts and I missed a lot of the normal, where'd you grow up? What high school did you go to? And so I have that weird pattern with people where like, I actually become pretty good friends with them. And then later on, I learn more and more about like, where they grew up and where they went to high school. And it's like, oh yeah, that's cool. I also kind of care and I also kind of don't, right? Like where you went to high school, it's nice to like talk about it and like make some sort of a connection there. Or it's just like, yeah, whatever. Like, I'm sure I've asked you, I can't remember where you went to high school.
It's all good.
You know what I mean? It's like, I don't know, but it's like you if you can learn to form relationships really quickly with people and connect with them, and it has to do with talking about them and talking about you and sharing things with yourself. Like, it's just really easy to connect.
Yeah, so. You do a really good job of sharing enough about you to where other people feel comfortable to open up about them. And I like what you said about the structure. So you have enough structure to be creative and be free of everything else, right? So a lot of people have that. What David Goggins talks about, the clutter in the garage.
Yeah.
You can't put a car in a cluttered garage. You got to put it all in boxes and off to the side, and you got to put a structure in so you can put a freaking car in the garage. I almost just sent it. And
it's too David Goggins of you.
Yeah. Once I start digging on David Goggins, I get wild. But that's cool. And then you have that free time and that flexibility to connect and be like, this is where I'm at. I'm with you. I'm just going to give you all of me.
Yeah.
There you go. And
I think I'm like pretty genuine with people, right? I mean, I'm cognizant of people's feelings, right? Like I'm not.
Oh yeah.
Like I can talk atheism with people, right? Or I can talk about God with people. And I'm just very genuine in what I say about it, right? And so I think that gives me a lot of leeway as a friend, because it's like if you text me, right, and you don't hear from me for like 2 days, it's not because I didn't want to talk to you, right? It's because I was somewhere, I read it, I'm really bad at actually reading stuff in the car because I'm trying not to text in the car. But I'll read it or I'll listen to it, right?
And then
I'm like, dude, I'm going to get back with him as soon as I can. But I get 65 texts a day, right? So then it's like, in fact, I delete my text messages out of my phone because I use it as an inbox. So if you're still in there, right, I'll start going through and I'll be like, oh, I freaking forgot to respond to this.
Really?
Blah, blah, blah. Yeah.
That's cool.
It's my system.
Yeah. Systems, baby.
Same as my email, dude. My email is all my inbox is like tasks. It's all items to do. Huh. I don't have anything in there that like, oh, I'll get back to that later, because I'll just flag that and tag it and stick it away in a folder. So when it's time to deal with it, I deal with it. And so
That's cool.
But yeah, and so I think a lot of people give me a lot of leeway. I think I genuinely like people. And so if I say something off-putting to them or like offends them or rubs them wrong, or they're like, oh, like most of the time people just be like, oh, it's just Mark, you know, like at the end of the day, he's just being honest, you know?
Yeah.
Like, so I don't think I offend people all that much, but when I do, it's a doozy generally.
They know.
Yeah, they know.
They know
Yeah.
if you're trying to offend them. Yeah.
But I also think I'm approachable enough too that people can be like, dude, that kind of pissed me off. And it's like, oh,
yeah.
What happened? You know? And I'll be like, even if I say, well, I think it's stupid that you're pissed off, right? But we're still friends.
Yeah.
Like it's never really wildly confrontational.
Like
you know?
you have the capability to be pissed off. I think it's dumb.
Yeah, exactly.
That's that.
Yeah, I'm sorry you're wild.
Yeah.
Like it's kind of a good trait to have with family, right? Because family, they'll kind of, you can't really shake your family, right? So you kind of like a little bit of eggshells or pins and needles with your family, right? Because it's like, oh, if I say this, they're going to go wild. But I pretty much just say it. You know, I'm not really, I don't know, bull in a china shop, I guess, a little bit. And you either love it or you hate it.
Yeah, and you'll just pay for the china that breaks.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, sorry, I broke your plate.
Yeah.
Can you still want to be friends with me? Well, under these conditions, it's like, all right, I'll do 3
Cool.
of those.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's a fun world with that. What do you think the best thing about being Jonah is? I love asking this question, by the way.
Best thing about being Jonah? In that way, I actually think you and I share a whole bunch of similarities to where it's like, this is it, man. Like, this is what you get.
Yeah.
For a long time, I was reading all the David Goggins stuff and I was trying to be badass and be hard and be all these things. And then it gets tiring, man. I'm not hard, dude. I'm just a guy, you know, like I love dogs. I love playing video games with my brothers. I love drawing. And I actually, the other day I had like an hour on a Saturday and I was crazy. So I was thinking about you and poetry, and I was like, it's crazy that Mark does poetry. Yeah. So I sat down and wrote poems for an hour, and it's just
nice, dude.
But it's like, what you see is what you get.
Yeah.
And I'm just grateful I'm just grateful to be where I'm at. Yeah. You know, I think it goes back to, I don't claim to know a whole bunch. I just live, and if it works, great. If it doesn't, I didn't expect anything. I have no expectations for people, right? It's just, I'm here. I'm chilling.
Yeah. It's, we are similar that way, right? Because just like, let's do this.
Yeah.
You know, like even in our men's group, right? Like there's 50 of us or 55. I don't know how many freaking guys, and there's always someone new, right? And it's like, yeah, I'm just going to, when I come to show up here, man, I'm away from my family. I'm away from work. There's a bazillion things I could be doing. I could fly somewhere. I could go on a vacation. But no, I'm choosing to kind of come to this weekend, right? So it's like, we're going 100, you know? And yeah, if I feel like waking you up at 3 a.m. and tickling you because some dude, you know, challenged me to do it, like I'm going to freaking do it.
Oh, yeah.
You know? And I actually get a kick out of the guys that kind of stuff pisses off, right? You know, because they're mad because it's all ego, right? It's all this thing where they're like, you know, I got to present a certain way and you can't be in here, you know, messing with me, you know. Like there's a little thing that's inappropriate, right? Our friends in high school, if one of us was being grumpy, we'd give him a hump, right? So we hold him down, right, and insinuate, you know, a little dog or whatever. Right?
Got him.
So like when your friend's being grumpy, you're around like 5 chicks, right? And you're like, bro, you better knock that off and give you a hump. He's like, no, you won't. Don't freaking do that, bro. Like they're all kind of like scared up, and it's like, it's coming. Put a smile on your face. You know what I mean? I actually did it to Michelle one time in front of my family.
You get grumpy, we get humpy. You know,
it's the best way to do it, right? Because if I do it to you, you're totally out of control, right? Like you have no control of the situation, and I'm just gonna do it till you start smiling, and then you start laughing because you're like, I kind of deserve this.
Yeah, I get pumped until you decide you're done. Yeah.
I'll have to see if there's ever a situation in Watt, I'll try and pull that out. You better wipe that freaking mad look off your face. Hey, I'm gonna give you a hump.
Cheer up, bud. Boom.
But I don't know, man. I just part of like, like, I remember I was told this, and I think it's a non-religious comment or non-denominational comment, but it was this conversation I was having when I was like early 20s, and they were like, yeah, up in heaven, you know, we'll have soft laughter and we'll just be praising God and singing and, you know, playing harps and stuff like that. And dude, I always thought, that sucks.
Yeah, it sounds like a bad time.
Like, what?
Sounds like a bad time.
Yeah, like, where's the laugh? And like, you know, I mean, you can get real philosophical on it. I'm like, you know, if God created all of us, dude, there's no way he doesn't have a laugh. There's no way. Because if you look at your two friends, if you have two really good friends, even if they get in a fist fight, it's the funniest thing you've ever seen in your life, right? Because you know they like each other, and then you know they're just being stupid, so they just get in this thing. It's like, you can't tell me God's not looking down at earth just being like, I put those guys in the same time period because this is funny. You know?
Yeah,
I just keep on flashing them in each other's lives over the 80 years they exist.
You'll be really upset until you figure out that God has a sense of humor.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. And I, you know, if I'm made in his image or likeness, then I freaking take that on with a crown. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, let's have fun. Let's laugh. Let's joke around, man. What did you just say? That's ridiculous. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, it is ridiculous, you know? Like, even in our mastermind, you know, Josh Sherwood and I, in that last one at Bear Lake, we were going around the circle, right? And Josh Sherwood was like, man, I just kind of feel guilty that I've like done really well and made a lot of money, and I can like do whatever I want. Like at 10 o'clock, I can smoke a cigar on my porch, or I could like drive to an ice cream shop with my kid. He's like, I feel guilty. And I'm like, hey, you got to knock that out of your system. Like now, like you earned this, bro. You put all the hours in, you put the work in. Don't get to the freaking end and not enjoy it. That's bad.
Yeah. It sounds like a bad time.
And I think if you look at it in a day by day situation, excuse me, you should enjoy every day, like literally every day. That's why I say YOLO every day, which is funny because my personality, people just think that's hilarious. And I'm like, I mean it 100%. Yeah. Like, let's do something fun today. Like, what could we do that's fun? You know, do you want to write a book? You want to freaking jump off of a plane? I don't know. Let's go.
You should write a book.
I'm working on it.
You are writing a book. See?
Yeah. Yeah. I actually want to write two. I want to write one with Michelle, and I'm going to write one by myself. Well, I've realized the best way to do it is get a ghostwriter, and you just tell them what you want to write, and then they write it for you. I think like 99% of books are that way.
Yeah.
My problem is I want them to be clear and concise because I hate books.
Okay. Cool.
Like I read Atomic Habits, right? I don't know, like 200 pages or whatever, right? Yeah. And it's like, dude, this is a freaking 30-page pamphlet. You know, you just stored me into the ground. Like, why are you wasting my time? Just give me the freaking highlights. So I'll have a really hard time writing a book that is not like just bullet pointed, like the whole freaking thing, right? And maybe my advice, like bullet pointed, you know, it's just like, I'm writing this book so people get something out of it. You know, I don't need to write a book.
Yeah.
I don't need to be an author. I don't really give a rip. But like, I do like the fact that it's just another way of media that you can kind of leave a legacy a little bit. And so, but I'm writing the book on, it's going to be called Likability, the most important personal characteristic.
There you go. I love that.
It's like one of the things I think I'm good at. So,
oh yeah.
And every hater I have is just losing their mind right now. Get in the comments if you don't like me.
The least likable person I've ever met. Mark.
His face. Yeah. He's bald.
It's dumb freaking head.
But yeah, dude, no, I love it, man. And I mean, look at this life, right? If you don't just say yes to stuff, like we would have never met. Either of us, right? I mean, you're a young kid. You got your career. You got a young wife. There's all sorts of stuff going on. Why we agreed to be in a men's group, who the hell knows? You know? I mean, half of us, I think, are just like, I don't know. I just kind of did it. Felt good in the moment. Yeah. And, you know, we've got all these freaking super good friendships now. And yeah, I think everyone elevates each other. I feel almost every time we're around each other, I'm around other dudes. Like I just feel better every time. I feel like life gets better. So,
amen.
Yeah. And I love meeting the spouses too, right? It's fun getting to know, like, it's fun actually seeing people in couples, right? Because you're like, oh, that's what you're attracted to. Like, number one, right? And then it's like, is that the personality you like? Does it match yours? Does it not match yours? But like oil and water seems to work for you guys. You know what I mean? Like the complexities of relationships are also really fun for me, just to observe and see how that stuff works.
I'd see Michelle at the gym all the time. Didn't know who she was.
Yeah.
And then I was like, wait, hold up.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, I'm loud and all over the place, and she's very quiet and very thoughtful in what she says. And, you know, we were joking around last night because I'm like, people are around Michelle and they're always like, oh, I like Michelle. Like she's very nice to be around, like very gentle, right? But then when you realize that she likes you and you guys are friends, right? Like she'll engage with you basically. You're like, oh, this is different. I'm like actually friends with her. Like she will be like, hey, how's it going? You know what I mean? Because normally she doesn't give a shit about people. She's just like especially in the gym, right? She'll just go there, do her workout and leave. And she ain't talking to anybody unless you're like in her circle, which is one of the things I love about her, you know, to the nth degree. But well, my friend, we're pretty much out of time.
Well, thanks for having me.
So, but I want your best 2 minutes of advice. My Jonah advice.
My advice?
Yeah. We're jumping off a cliff. We know we're going to die. What advice are you giving to the world?
My advice is to slow down. To go forward, you got to go back. Make everything simpler. And just love people for who they are, man. You can't change people. The classic Jimmy Rex quote of, you can do everything but change them. You can create an environment around them, but life's, I don't know. Like I said, I don't know if I'm going to die on the way home, and I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
Just come what may and love it, you know?
Yeah.
It's not really advice. It's just,
no, that's great advice.
My
man.
advice is who the F knows? Who friggin' knows what's going on? So just love it.
Yeah. Yeah. Just love it. No, you're, I mean, the thing that I've liked in the walk group the most, just to kind of hijack your best 2 minutes of advice, right, is the gratitude part. You know, my current little foursome group, we're doing the daily gratitude thing, and I like it a lot, man. It's one of those things where it just changes the way you think. You know, it's easy to get into the weeds of stuff that's going wrong, but it doesn't matter. It's going to go wrong it's going to go wrong no matter what. It doesn't matter what you do. So just deal with that and get back to having fun. Deal with that, get back to having fun.
The obstacle is the way, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, dude.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to the President McCormack Podcast, brought to you by McCormack Foundation, Saxton Fund, ADP Lemco, and Professional Floor Systems. Make sure you subscribe to the podcast and keep up with Mark on Instagram @President McCormack.